Pardon? You want to drink the whole quart within 30 minutes to an hour. Every day. While you're sitting.
It was a little hot still. It was good.
How do you like it, y'all? You good? Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Could we put a little more water in it?
You could. That's just a little bit more dry.
Yeah, just a little bit more.
Yeah, I remember one time, someone asked Dr. Thrash, she would do a teaspoon of turmeric twice a day. And they said, how much water? She says, oh, how much bad do you want to taste?
Yeah, you know that texture either.
It's not bad.
What about somebody who works nights and they don't sleep when the sun goes down? How could that affect somebody?
Well, what happens is it significantly affects the immune system. And they need to pray for another job at another time. It's just, you can't fix it. There's a committee that meets in North Carolina. It's a program every year, the first week of June at Black Mountain, which had that 5 foot of mud on the top of it.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I can taste it.
What do you think? You like it?
Tasted fine to me.
Just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. Use a straw. A straw will throw it back there.
So what, can you say what you were saying?
Yes, let me come back to it.
Okay.
Did you say 1 tablespoon of extra of elderberry? Is that every day?
Yes, we didn't put the elderberry in it. Elderberry makes it taste a lot better. This doesn't have the elderberry in it. Elderberry does, yes. Pardon? Okay. Is that a spicy food to Spirit Crossing? Yes. Okay. Oh, it's asking if you want
So I think I asked you yesterday.
Yes.
I can't remember exactly. So for me, because of it's great. I actually like it, but with me seeing, you know, I'm really close to people's face or nose. So how do I eat the garlic?
I wouldn't do that.
Taste yours after.
That's what you talked about
Yeah,
yesterday.
so let it grow. Yeah. That would be
It doesn't
nothing.
give you.
Okay, so the question was, what happens if you have a night job? And it causes problems. Is there a pill you can take for a night job? Is there a remedy for a night job? And there is, and there's prayer for another job. There's a meeting once a year in Black Mountain, North Carolina, where we have some really smart people that come that are like biochemists. They're really smart. And then the doctors and the NDs and the nurse practitioners, they'll bring their toughest patients that they had this past year. And that committee at this round table, the last meeting of this conference, they always ask, what shift do they work? If they work third shift, they say they're going to have to get another job. Because third shift is not what the human being was made to work. But people say, well, someone has to take care of patients at night. That is true, but someone else that doesn't have that problem, or that doesn't care, wants that extra money. But third, not getting your sleep at night is really, really big. Yeah. What do you think?
That's good.
Good. All right.
I can do it. You didn't get yours.
Okay.
Gotta keep your immunity up.
Yes. All right. What other questions do you have? Okay, yes.
Didn't you mention
Okay, I'll have-
yesterday
I'll have
that
some.
there was something else the person could use rather than
Thanks.
garlic?
For immune system, yes, there's a lot of things you can use for immune system. You can use golden seal, you can use echinacea, you can use colloidal silver, vitamin C, that's a great one. Vitamin C is cheap, works well. So yes, there's other things. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Your own herbs and stuff, how do you know you're harvesting them at the correct?
At the correct time, yeah. It's difficult without having the lab to be able to test it. But there is something that you can use. It's called prayer. And you say, okay, God, impress me when I need to pick this. Does that make sense? And there are places I go that do not understand that. They have no idea what I'm talking about. But if you have a question on something, ask God. He'll impress you what to do. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
Cayenne pepper, I read not too long ago that they're starting to use that for, like, someone's having a heart attack or they're suspecting a heart attack or angina, that they can give them a cayenne pepper with a
Yes.
pill form to help reverse, almost like taking a baby aspirin.
That's right. So cayenne pepper can be used with the angina, and it can help stop the angina. It also, if a person is actually having a heart attack, I know of cases that they use cayenne pepper and the heart attack stops. Now, cayenne pepper, you do not want to put cayenne pepper in your food when you're cooking. That changes the molecular state of the cayenne pepper where it's an irritant. So what you do is you cook your food, then put the cayenne pepper in it, and you're fine. But you don't want to cook the cayenne pepper. Yes, ma'am.
So you were saying for GI, to make the soup and eat it for 21 days?
So what, for what now?
For the GI, for your...
For the GI, you do yes, for 21 days, up to a quart each meal.
So is each meal
Yes, up to 1 quart.
up to 1 quart?
Now, you may not be able to eat a quart. Just eat what you need. Now, I want to be honest. You'll get tired of it. I remember one time, I just did not think to eat that for lunch, for the new meal for dinner. I did not want to go home with that container with potato soup. I did not want the wrath of Mary Lou saying I was going to live. So I poured it down the toilet, washed that out. She didn't know until I was late. That's been many years ago. But just don't eat it, you know. But I knew that I couldn't take that back home. Because why? She had 3 kids at home. She was homeschooling. She needed me to stay alive and be able to provide for the family. And she was going to make sure I was going to stay alive. And so if you feel like you just can't do it, skip the meal.
Can you just do me a favor and repeat the ingredients?
Yes, potatoes,
Yes.
carrots, celery, and onions. Whatever portion you want. And then put some water in it. Blend it up a little bit.
No,
Pardon?
Can you put any seasoning in it?
That's a pretty good season right there. Yes, if you'll put some garlic in it, you can put some garlic in it. Yes. That's it. It's all good. Yes, ma'am. What's that?
Some of it work on pets, if pets are sick.
Some of the herbs can. Let me give you an example. Lady comes in maybe 6 months ago. She's crying. Her horse, she had lost a horse as not far before. It had died. And so she said her horse was on the floor of the stall, and the vet said that it was going to die. The eyes, the white of the eyes, was maroon in color. It had gotten into, I forgot what the plant was, but it was poisonous. And the vet said there was nothing he could do, the horse would die. So, what do you think we first did? We prayed. It reminded me of years before, I had two billy goats, or two goats, well, a Billy and an Annie, and they both got into rhododendron. Now, y'all don't have rhododendron here, do you? But we have rhodea at home, rhododendron. And it's very poisonous to animals. And they gotten into it, and the goats were shaking, they were throwing up, and they also had diarrhea. That's not normal for goats that I had. And the vet said, Walt, I can give it a diuretic, but that's only helping you in your mind. There's nothing we can do for them goats. Don't even bring them in. Save your money. So Mary Lou called that same friend of ours that helped with the charcoal poultice, Dr. Mundy. And he tells Mary Lou, send Walt back to work, get the biggest syringe he can find at work. Come on back and I'll meet you at your house. So he came over, and I got a big old feeding syringe, and that you can flush tube feeding with. And so we made up charcoal water, slowly syringed it so they wouldn't aspirate or throw up, get it into their lungs, and they lived. I called the vet the next morning. He thought I was going to say they're dead. And I said, they're alive. He said, what did you do? I said, I used charcoal slurry, or charcoal water. And he says, I should have thought about that. He says, they taught us that in veterinarian school. He said, I just forgot. Well, 2 weeks later, the nanny again did it. And Billy learned his lesson. We did the same thing for the nanny, and she lived up through that one too. And she learned her lesson at that time, never got into rhododendron again. So I told this lady with the horse that story. I said, would you like to try that? She said, yes. So there's a big difference between the weight of a goat and the weight of a human and the weight of a horse. So we figured the weight of the horse and did that much charcoal. That was Thursday morning. Friday morning, she came in all excited. She said, my horse is standing in a stall. The color is now just yellow, which is normal for jaundice. And it's not eating, but it is eating and drinking, but very little. She says, I want to try something for the liver because the vet said it attacked his liver. I said, okay. I said, but I want to make sure. Call your vet and see if a horse can use milk thistle and dandelion root. So she called him, and she thought he was calling to say that he said that it died. And she said, it's alive. And this is what we've done. Can he use milk thistle and dandelion root? And he said, yes, it's a good thing you called, because if you used it on a cow, and I don't know which one, he didn't say, it would kill the cow. I don't know if it's the milk thistle or the dandelion root. And he said it would kill the cow. So we did it on the horse, and we figured how much, again, for the weight of the horse versus what a human would do. And she carried out a whole bunch of 1 ounce bottles of milk thistle and 1 ounce bottles of dandelion root. Monday she called me and she says, horses in the pasture running and eating and drinking, horse is fine. And the horse lived. So yes, there's some things you can do on animals that you do on humans, but like for the cow, if we'd done it on the cow would have died. There's things like cats. Cats are smart. They usually will leave the room if there's an essential oil. But yet the essential oils, if you put it on their neck thing around them for fleas or something, you had the wrong ones. Cats can die a lot easier. They're more finicky than dogs. So some things you can do for some animals, and so you just have to research it. Like lobelia. Lobelia is an excellent herb. It's great for the lungs. It's an antispasmodic. It's a spasmodic, an antispasmodic. It's a great tool to use. Lady comes in I don't remember if it was a man or a woman. Someone came in the other day and said their dog needed to throw up. It had gotten into something. And they wanted syrup of ipecac. Well, we can't get that anymore. I said, well, we can use lobelia, and it will do the same thing for humans, but let's check. You always got to check. So I checked it, and it said, do not use lobelia on a dog. It will kill it. So we didn't do the lobelia, but I said, let's do charcoal. Charcoal you can do on a dog. And so you can some things, but some things you can't.
Does charcoal make them throw up? Or is it just,
The goal is to adsorb it.
I see.
Now, there's a difference. So if I have a sponge and I put some flour out here, and I have a dry sponge, the flour will stick to the outside of the sponge and it will not absorb it. That's adsorb. If I have water here and I rub over the sponge will soak it up. That is absorb. Activated charcoal adsorbs. It sticks to it. 1 teaspoon of activated charcoal powder has the same surface area as a tennis court. That's a lot. It's a lot. And so it will stick to it. Now, I had a lady come in one time, and what saved her life was she was Korean. That's what saved her life. Because her brother was an internist, internal medicine. His wife was internal medicine. She was 29 years of age. She had been in the hospital, I don't know how long, but she'd been on TPN, hyperalimentation. It's where they feed you straight into your veins. And for 3 months, had nothing by mouth for 3 months. No water, nothing. And she had pancreatitis. And they told her, and finally they told the doctors there at the big hospital there in Maryland, told her they made the decision that she's going to die. We can't just keep pumping this into her. We've got to basically take her off. Her life support was the Hyperal. So they discontinued the Hyperal, sent her home to die. She could not take anything by that mouth, water, food, anything. She'd throw up. Takes her home. The father, who's Korean, says, no, I know a friend of mine who's a physician that went to this place and he had cancer. He no longer has it. Send her there. The difference is they were Korean. They obeyed the father. In American, Dad, we're doctors. You know, we've got we're internal medicine, both of us. We know what we're talking about. Dad, you're not a doctor. You haven't been to school. The docs at work, we're a big medical institution. All the science says there's nothing we can do anymore, Dad. You just have to trust us. But it was, yes, sir. See the difference? That used to be the way it was where I grew up. And so she came. She came in on a Monday morning. She had to have assistance in ambulation. She could not allow anything to touch this region of her. It was too painful. Even a gown touching this region was painful to her. She could hold nothing by mouth. Monday we tried charcoal, water, threw it up. Monday evening I called a friend of mine, the same guy that helped me when I was sick. And I said, what can I do for this lady? He said, charcoal. I said, I use charcoal. He said, how did you use charcoal? I said, well, I just took water and, a teaspoon, took a glass of water, stirred it up, had her try drinking it, and she threw it out. He goes, wrong way. He says, you want to do slurry water. What you do is you take a glass of water, put 1 teaspoon in there, stir it, wait 15 minutes. Give her a quarter of a teaspoon. Stir it, wait 15 minutes, give her a quarter of a teaspoon. Do that every 15 minutes. And every hour increase by a quarter of a teaspoon. So first hour, quarter, second hour, half, third hour, 3/4. He says you will be tempted to, at 3-4 hours, to just, because she's doing so well, quit wasting your time, give her some more, she will throw up. He says you want to go 7 to 8 hours doing this. At least 7, better yet 8. And that's what we did. That evening she was then able to drink juice. That was Tuesday evening. Friday, she was eating in the dining room with the rest of the patients. The next week, she was out jogging on campus. She's still alive today. Amazing. Just amazing. How effective it can be, yes.
Do you have any recommendations if somebody has some food poisoning? Is it with charcoal again?
Yes, usually within 30 minutes, food poisoning is gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you do the small amounts like that?
So, no.
Okay.
You can either do 3 capsules and take it, but that's gonna take longer because you gotta wait a little bit for the capsules to break down. Or you can just put it in a little bit of water, drink it, and it's gonna work a whole lot faster. Yes. And you can do a teaspoon, you can do a tablespoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, that's a good idea.
Any other questions? Yes? Go ahead.
Is there anything to do for shingles?
Yes.
Topically, I mean, or orally? I mean, my son had it, and it was just, unbelievably painful.
Dr. Thrash taught me this. It's a virus.
Yes.
Olive leaf extract, 800 milligrams.
Olive leaf?
Olive leaf extract, 800 milligrams, 3 times a day. That will kill the virus normally.
Well, 3 times a day.
Stress exacerbates shingles. So B complex 100, 1 each meal. B complex 100, 1 each meal. And then a castor oil pack over the affected area. And that can help drive it in. It also can help with the pain. Now there's a new thing that I've learned that you can also add. Usually that works. But there's a new item out in the market as of the last year, and it's called Healthy Feet and Nerves. Healthy Feet and Nerves. It's by Terry Naturally. It's the best thing I have found for neuropathy. 2 in the morning, 2 at night. If it doesn't work, it's guaranteed you'll get your money back.
Okay. So
What's it called for neuropathy?
Healthy Feet and Nerves by Terry Naturally. Go to your health food store. If you can't find it, we can get it to you. But
what's it called again, Terry?
Healthy Feet and Nerves by Terry Naturally. That's the brand. It's guaranteed. 1 bottle will last 2 weeks. If it's not gone, take it back to the store and they'll give you your money back.
He takes it away?
Yeah, it's gone.
My brother-in-law.
Now, it doesn't mean it's not going to come back. You're going to have to keep taking it.
Oh, really?
Yes, and that's the problem. People, it goes away and then they'll think, I don't have to take this stuff no more. And then it comes back and you got to wait another 3 to 5 days for it to get saturated and they have to deal with it for another few days.
It's called Terry.
Healthy Feet and Nerves also can help with shingle pain.
Yesterday, you mentioned during the message, the third angel's message, the Advent message, and the health message and how important it was to the third angel's message. Can you speak anything to the relationship and why the health message has been so important
Yes.
within Adventism?
Okay. So we know the first angel is judgment is starting. That's the primary. There's other issues going on there that we're told in the first message. But the biggest issue is judgment has started. The second message is to come out of her. Of whoever. Even if it's Laodicea, whatever church. We need to come out of it. And the third angel's message is that Babylon's fallen. And the best way to, as we learned yesterday in that message, what is to present the gospel is through the health message, gaining trust and showing Christ's love. And when we marry the two, we then start having people trust us. And their minds start working better. They can discern better. And then they can understand that third angel's message better, that Babylon has fallen. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense because, I've been in Idaho only about almost 3 years now, and we've already encountered here in some other churches some anti-Adventist literature being left at the church and calling us a cult. So, New York didn't really have that, but I've seen that pretty much
Yes.
over here, and not only in this church, but in the Ontario Church and the Emmett Church and some other churches. So, do you think that the health message, that this message that we've always emphasized within Adventism can help with gaining trust from
Yes.
people who think these ways?
Absolutely. I see it as I work with folks. An example. I was in, again, Dallas. Another Dallas story. A guy comes to, we do a big old health fair. Guy comes in, big guy. And I asked him how he liked the program. Oh, that's good. I said, would you like to come? We have some more classes that we're doing on health. He said, sure. No, we were doing health classes, but it was only going to be 15 minutes. The rest of the meeting was going to be evangelist meetings. But I invited him to the health component of it. Big Dallas church. He sat second seat back, and he would come in, and then he was embarrassed to get up and walk out. Now this guy, which I didn't know at the time, had just got out of prison as a drug dealer. He had gone back on the streets of Dallas, and he was selling drugs again. He worked late at night, selling drugs with his buddies. He and his wife were about to get a divorce because they just didn't get along. And 10 days into the program, the 10th day, I remember I asked him, how is it, what we're teaching? He said, it's clear as mud. Now, would you want someone to say that about if you're, no, that's not good. And so I said, now, this guy is a drug dealer, a big man, streets of Dallas. But does God ever impress you to say something? Does it ever scare you? I was impressed to say, we're doing addiction cessation class. Would you like to take one? But ask a drug dealer that, and you know what he said? Sure. So he came. He quit his drugs. He quit alcohol. We found him a job during the daytime. He and his wife started getting along better because he was in bed where he belonged at night with his wife. At the end of the session of the series, Jim Gilly baptized him. Why? His brain understood more. Because through the health message of temperance, he had better discernment. So there's many aspects of whether it's diet, whether it's temperance, whether it's sleep, whether any of those laws, a person applies that, the brain works better. And when the brain works better, the brain is the most important organ in the body because that's how we communicate with God. And when that brain is fogged up because of any of those laws, we cannot discern as well. And the better the brain processes, the better we can then understand reason, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's why they work so well. Plus, when they do have healing, we're giving that credit to God. And we're linking God with that. And so that's why I say it's so important. And that third angel's message is so very important today. It's life or death.
Yeah.
It is life or death. Yes, ma'am.
I had a stroke, a second one.
You had a stroke?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
the second one. My second one left me. The first one I had a little short memory, but it came back.
Short memory?
Yeah. The second one, which was not too long ago, 7 months back, and I ended up with short-term memory on a bigger scale. And I want to know, I want to know what can I do other than reading and studying
Yes.
to help enhance that short-term memory
Yes.
back to long-term.
Okay. Was it a full stroke? Was it an aneurysm?
And,
It's an aneurysm. So you had a blowout.
yeah,
Yes. So, first of all, we got to figure out why you had the aneurysm so you don't have another. Did you have high blood pressure? Okay.
it was high at that time.
Okay. So how's your blood pressure now?
Very good.
Good. So we got to keep it down. So the first thing you want to do is, one, prevent it from happening again. And yesterday we talked about things that you can do to stop high blood pressure. You want to make sure that blood pressure doesn't go up anymore so it doesn't happen again. Now, what can we do to clean your brain out, make your brain start working better? According to trying to remember the journal, Psychology Today. Psychology Today recently had an article that said The best neuroscientists around the globe agree that the best medication for the brain is exercise. Now that's big. Now, so you want to improve brain function, exercise is significant. And you can read, there's all kinds of studies by neurologists on how exercise increases brain function. When you exercise, it increases the brain's processing speed significantly for 2 hours. Now, Duke University found that if we exercise 4 times a day, we do better. So if you do exercise, then 4 times a day, then that's 8 hours that day, you increase your processing speed. That's huge. We know that water is significant for brain function, where you drink adequate water. Now, they've now found that when you fall asleep at 9 o'clock, your brain from 9 to 10 does a deep clean. You need to clean your brain out. And so you need to repair that brain. From 9 to 10, your brain's lymphatic system, which is called the lymphatic system, is cleaning your brain. From 10 to midnight, it's doing a thorough cleanse and flushing your brain. But to get that done, 2 things have to happen. First, in 2013, they thought it was only being asleep right at 9 o'clock. 2 years later, in 2016, they said, though we thought the only way to turn on the lymphatic system was through going to bed early, we have now found that exercise also increases the lymphatic system. They then have a big but in red, in bold. You got to do both of them to have it effective. So you need that exercise, and you need to be asleep by 9 o'clock. Nutrition, fresh air, all those 8 laws significantly increase brain function. There are things like ginkgo biloba. Ginkgo biloba is really good to increase brain function. Lithium orotate. Lithium orotate is good for preventing short-term memory issues. It's also excellent for stress. So, those 8,
Just say that again, one more time.
ginkgo biloba
I got that.
and lithium orotate, O-R-O-T-A-T-E. There's a product by a company called Buried Treasure, also called Lifeline Foods. It's in Pikeville, Tennessee. It is the #1 mineral company in America. And they make a product called Neuro Nectar. Neuro Nectar. And I found very good benefit of using it to help with cognitive function. But the first thing I would do is make sure you're doing all of those 8 laws of health, including trusted health. And being happy. That's important for brain function.
That's hard if you're mad at people, right?
Let me share with y'all something that's very powerful. I had a lady come in, and it was on Friday morning. Mary was homeschooling the kids. I was helping several ladies. This girl comes in, and she was dressed like a gypsy. Just really strange dress, more like a gypsy. And her hair was some Princess Leia weird thing. She comes in and comes around and comes to me, and she says, "You Walt?" "Yes, ma'am." She says, "They told me you could help me." Well, you could look at her. She looked like a whooped dog. And I could tell it was going to take a little while when I was by myself. I said, "If you come back Monday morning, we can sit down and I can sit down and see if I can get you." She came in, she was on time. We started talking. And she tells me that she'd been a psychiatrist, she'd been a psychologist. Now this is not you. Do not get confused. Do not get confused. She'd been a psychologist, she'd been a psychiatrist, the drugs and the therapy had not worked. Someone told her that the herbs I had might help her brain function. So we're talking. I'm getting into history. And she says, "I need to tell you something." I said, "What's that?" She says, "I make things levitate. You believe me?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." And then She didn't say nothing. I said, I'll continue on after I start praying. And she said, she stopped me again. And she said, I need to tell you something else. I said, what's that? She said, see that store over there they just built around his own parts? I've never been in there. And I can tell you where everything is in that store. Do you believe me? Yes, ma'am. We went on. She told me she would be lifted out of bed at night and thrown against the wall. When I mentioned Jesus, she started shaking like she was having a seizure. When I mentioned God, she did not shake. When I mentioned Jesus again, she would shake. I mean, violently shake. I said, what's wrong with you? And she says, they don't like that word. They. So I talked to her about things that she could do to improve brain function. And I said, when they talk to you, I want you to say something. In Jesus' name, Satan, get thee behind me. I said, I don't care if you say it for 20 minutes. I want you to say it straight plumb for 20 minutes or until they quit talking to you. I said, I want you to come back next Monday. And I gave her some black seed, and I gave her some trace minerals, and I gave her some B complex. She didn't bring no money with her. So we started to leave, and I remember that some Gideons, you know what Gideons are that give out Bibles? They had brought me a New Testament just the week before, a little white New Testament. So I gave it to her and I said, I want you to read this between now and next Monday. She's on time, because she looked like a different woman. She didn't look like a poor dog. She looked normal. She was still dressed weird, but she looked normal. She wasn't plump wore out. And I said, how are you doing? And she says, good. I said, are they talking to you anymore? And she said, they can't. I said, why? She said, I said what you said, they can't talk. Amen. I said, did you read that little book I gave her? And she says, oh yes. She said, I especially like the first 4 books in that book, especially when she read more later. I said, why did you like that first 4 books? She says, because it talks about Jesus. And she did not show it. So when someone makes you mad, you just start saying, in Jesus' name, Satan, get behind me. In Jesus' name, Satan, get behind me. And you just keep saying it. Walk off somewhere. Leave them alone. Just keep saying it. It works. I promise you.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
know time's getting late. What recommendation do you have for depression or low energy?
So for depression, the first thing I look at for females is what is the hormones doing. Female hormones that are off the wall can cause depression issues. So you want to make sure that the hormones are good. Lack of energy, that can be because of not following every one of those 8 laws of health. Lack of sleep, lack of nutrition, lack of water, lack of, all of those are so important for energy. Many times with depression, there's triggers that can cause depression. It can be finances, it can be relations, it can be loss of a job, moving. It can be a grandparent who's raising their children. I have great-grandparents come into me that are raising great-grandchildren because the children and their grandchildren are in prison and they're having to raise their great-grandchildren. All of those can be flags or triggers that can exacerbate depression worse. We know that magnesium is called the depression medication. Magnesium is about tolerance, where you get loose stool and back up. B complex is very good for depression. I had a guy come in and he was extremely depressed, suicidal. And we did large doses of lithium orotate, popped right out of it. He doesn't call me anymore because he's gotten better. But for a good while, he would call me, and I told my narrator, Walt Cross, I said, if he calls, you get me right now because he's suicidal. And he would forget why, he only knew to call me, but he forgot what to do. I'd say, how you doing? He says, not good. I said, are you taking the lithium? He goes, that's it. I knew to call you. And you take the lithium orotate? Boom, he was back okay. Water. A gallon of water a day. Dr. Walter Strachan from Loma Linda. He said that a person with depression needs a gallon of water a day. There's a hospital in New England that deals with depression. Will not even take you as a patient unless you agree to drink a gallon of water a day. Another herb that's very good for depression is, I find it very good, and that is skull cap. You take a quart of water, bring it to a boil, plumb turn it off, and add 1 cup of skull cap. Strachan said if they'll drink it as sick as mud, let them drink it that day. But skull cap is very good for helping with depression. But you also want to identify what those flags are and look at them. I don't think I shared with y'all this. We didn't talk about this here. Did I talk about the T-bar? And making a list of your stressors? This is important. It really is. You take a piece of paper and you write all your stressors down. I don't care if you have depression, anxiety, stress, whatever it is, whatever is stressing you. You write down on one piece of paper what all of your stress scores are. Then you take another piece of paper and you draw a T. And we use that in business called a T-bar. On the top left, you write controllable. On the top right, you put non-controllables. In accounting, you've got controllables and you have non-controllables. You can turn these lights out. You can run just one bank of lights. You can turn the air down, but you better pay your taxes at home. That's a non-controllable. So you take that list of stressors and you put them either something you can control or something you cannot control. I have a lady. Did I tell you about the lady in her boy shot a state trooper? He's somewhere out here in prison. And they told her she'd never see him again. And I mean, she'd cry and squall and fret, and she was getting sick. And she was coming to me because she was getting sick. And I said, is there anything you can do to address the issue of get your boy out of prison? She says, no. I said, so it's crying and squalling and fretting, is it fixed it? No. And so I had to put him under non-control. Thinking everything she can do to fix him being in prison. He's there. Then you take that piece of paper and you tear it in half. The controllable ones, you lay down on the table. The ones that you can't control, you take that one, you go somewhere and sit down with God. And you say, God, there's never thing I can do here. Will you take this? Now, does God love her more than she loves her boy? Yeah. Does God love you? Yeah, He does. Give it to Him. But here's the problem. Don't take it back. People try to take it back. Some people have OCD thinking about their things. And so give it to Him and don't take it back. Now Satan would come back to her at first and say, your boy's in prison. Your boy's in prison. And here's what I had to do. The same thing I had that other lady. In Jesus' name, Satan, get thee behind me. Well, what she would do is when he'd start doing that, and she'd think about it, she'd say, Satan, that ain't mine, that's God's, and I'm going to get out of here. And she'd start saying, in Jesus' name, Satan, get thee behind me. In Jesus' name, Satan, get thee behind me. Until those thoughts of her boy in prison were gone. See, God didn't take care of that. That is extremely powerful. So when you have those stressors that you're not sure what to do with, give them to God. And that's not yours anymore. Now the ones that are controllables, you pick them up and take God's hand and you go work on them. Because there's something you and God can work together in there. But there's some things that are totally out of our scope of what we can do. Give it to Him. But don't take it back. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
My son got frostbite on his hands and his feet several years ago, and put this healthy feet nerve, would that help?
Possibly.
Possibly. I know that's a different issue. I know
It's
that.
possible. It helps with nerve damage. I would try it.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to know.
Sure.
Doesn't it?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
On castor oil, I've heard that if you buy it in a plastic bottle, it's no good. What's your thoughts?
I probably used it 18 years before I learned it needed to be in a glass bottle.
Okay.
It might be better, but it worked fine in a plastic bottle when I did. It could be better. I don't know. But I know it worked very well before. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I know someone who has like TIAs and stroke and drink coffee and caffeinated drinks. Does that have effect on receiving a stroke? I've seen things on Google that drinking coffee can help a stroke, and I've seen it the other way where it's detrimental.
So a TIA is a transit ischemic accident. It's not a full-blown stroke. Two things that can cause that. There can be it can be some type of occlusion. That's a short-term occlusion. It can also be a spasm that happens in the brain. That spasm can be as simple as having an allergic reaction to wheat, which can spasm close and then open back up. Most of the time it's due to some type of a clot issue. There's several things that you want to do, again, prevention. Adequate water. Water is the best anticoagulant. It's tremendous. Nattokinase, or natto, or natto, it comes from the natto plant. Japanese pronounce it nattokinase. But we pronounce it nattokinase. It's N-A-T-T-O, K-I-N-A-S-E, I think. It's, you take 100 milligrams, I think it's in milligrams. You take 200 a day, and it's the natto plant, is what it is. And it's an excellent anticoagulant. Concord grape juice, 6 ounces, 3 times a day, works very well as an anticoagulant. Garlic is an anticoagulant, so taking garlic every meal can be very beneficial. My favorite of those is the natto. So you want to figure out what the cause is, and it's probably you want to look, is there plaque issues or whatever. We know that not getting enough sleep, according to the American Heart Association, significantly rises if a person does not. If they get less than 7 hours of sleep, 2 days or more a week, it significantly increases the risk of a stroke. Also, we know if you don't eat breakfast within 2 to 3 hours of awakening, increases your risk of a stroke 150%, based on what's going on in the platelets. So there's numerous things that can cause the stroke. So you want to make sure that you're taking care of those items as prevention. And then to repair the brain is doing what we spoke of over there.
But what about caffeine?
Caffeine?
I know that caffeine, they say that you have to drink way more water to make up for the
That is correct. That is correct, because caffeine is a diuretic. I'd leave the caffeine alone, and I'd use the natto instead of the caffeine. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
What can we do to improve sleep?
Sleep's a tough one. That's probably one of the toughest things that I work with now. 20 years ago, the biggest thing I dealt with was female hormones and stress. Today, I still do a lot with female hormones and a lot with stress, but sleep deprivation, or inability to sleep is a big one, especially post-COVID. There's 2 big problems. One is falling asleep. And the big issue I find out there, the major issue, is turning this thing off. And so what I do, I have a hard time turning this thing off, because there's a lot I didn't get done on my list today, and how am I going to get what I expect to do tomorrow? And we can be our worst enemies. And so Mary Lou notices I'm not falling asleep. She gives me ashwagandha. I'll take 1 to 2 ashwagandhas, and it will put me out. If it doesn't put me out, and I'm still having problems falling asleep, it's not a brain issue, because that will turn my brain down. I will rub magnesium oil, OIL, on the base of my feet in a rose ball. You can spray it on. And that will usually put me to sleep. Now, Mary Lou, what she uses is something called tranquil sleep. And that has melatonin, L-theanine, and 5-HTP. 5-HTP. 5-HTP is something we started using when the FDA said we couldn't use tryptophan. But also something that I've started doing is taking melatonin, 180 milligrams HS, hours of sleep. And I'm sleeping much better.
I see that they're making like 5, so you'd have to take a whole handful.
You would if you took those. The ones I buy, I can get them either in 60 milligrams or 120 milligrams. So I just take 3 of the 60s. I sleep much better. Now, melatonin does not make you fall asleep. Melatonin just helps you keep asleep. Now, again, remember, if you have any color other than red, you'll turn down to turn off your melatonin. So if you wake up in the night, go to the bathroom, look at the clock, any color that your eyes see other than red, other than moonlight, it is going to turn off the melatonin. Now you're going to have a problem falling back to sleep. Melatonin, it takes about an hour to build up in your system. It stays at that level for 3.5 to 4 hours, and then starts coming back down. There's a number of things you can use: valerian skullcap hops, passion flower, chamomile, wild lettuce. There's all kinds of herbs that we can take to help us sleep at night, collie. So those may work. Some people just take magnesium by mouth and it makes them fall asleep. Some people take CBD oil and it makes them fall asleep. Some people take Copaiba that we talked about and it makes them fall asleep. So you just have to find out the right cookie cutter or the right prescription for you or the right recipe for you. But then it may not work. It may work for several weeks and quit working. And you have to try something else. It's very challenging right now. Another thing is we know that to keep the room cool, not hot. Keep the room neat. Have fresh air. It's better to put a blanket on you and have some fresh air coming in. The other is thinking children. Many times we think that we can just be plumb wide open and then fall asleep. How old's your boy?
He'll be 5 in November.
So he's out there just racing around, running around, and you snatch him up and throw him in the bed and say, go sleep right now. That ain't working. You're going to have a slow down period. You're going to put him in the bathtub. You're going to read him a Bible story. You're going to turn the lights down. It's a decrescendo. We need a decrescendo too. Turn the lights down. Drink some nice tea. Whatever. But many times we're wide open doing laundry, ironing clothes, watching Chuck Norris kick everybody all over Dallas. Whatever it might be. And then we expect to go to sleep immediately. And we can, just as that 4-year-old can't do it, we can't do it either. So we need to decrescendo that. Any other questions?
Are there different types of magnesium?
There is. There's a lot of different kinds of magnesium. Depends on what you want it for. It can be like a rifle. It can be like a shotgun. Like Magtine. Magtine is what neurologists use for patients that have, say, memory issues, dementia, which is like a rifle. And then you have something like citrate. It's like a shotgun. It just helps the whole body. And I like using citrate a lot. A lot of docs do not like citrate because they say, oh, it's going to be a bowel issue. Well, let's just figure bowel tolerance. And what's the best source of magnesium?
For sleep.
Green leafy vegetables.
Is there one,
Foods that have magnesium in it.
is there one that's better for sleep?
There's one called Calm. It used to have one called Calm and Relax. And they took that off the market. Excellent product. But there's one called Calm. And people find that one. Is that glycinate?
I think that's.
No, I think it's citrate.
Is it?
Citrate.
Yeah,
Okay.
they also have gummies for kids.
Okay.
That one's a
Yeah.
citrate.
And I'm a big citrate supporter. It's a great product. I like giving people 400 milligrams 3 times a day to bowel tolerance. Yeah, and you cannot, so do not trust your mag serum. If you do a lab test and they're checking magnesium, most of it's done in the serum. The serum has only 1.5 to 2% of the magnesium in the body. The majority of your magnesium is in the RBC, the red blood cells. Plus the serum usually has more than the RBC does. So if you take the serum, they're now telling us at the hospitals that's a false number. Go to get a specific magnesium RBC, and that's going to be a whole lot. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any suggestions for GERD in babies?
For what?
GERD, like reflux?
Reflux?
Things that spit up a lot.
For a baby? For an adult, I can definitely tell you, but for a baby.
Or maybe something that the mother could do?
Well, yes, is the mother nursing?
Mm-hmm.
I look at that.
Half and half bottle and or something.
Yeah, well, I look at that. I mean, how old's the baby?
2 months?
I'd go full-time mom. That's the best milk you can find for a baby. That's the best milk. Is it a volume issue?
I don't know.
If it's a volume issue, look at the fenugreek and those kind of things that can increase the volume. But being 100% mom for 2 years is what that baby
Oh, you
needs.
mean the reason for the baby being half on bottle? Yeah.
But first of all, the baby, it could be something in that formula stuff.
Yeah, that's bad.
And so I come back to mama, which is the best thing that God gave for a baby, is mama. And then see if mama's eating anything that may cause problems with that baby. And your mamas are better at that than I am. There's another question. Yes, ma'am.
I was just wondering, for those of us who weren't able to be here yesterday, is your presentations available?
Oh, I didn't record yesterday.
Someone
It was
recorded
recorded.
it.
It was recorded. It was recorded. We'll have it up on our website soon.
Okay. Okay.
And you can also go to this here. You can click on that QR code and go to YouTube, and on the home page, you can go to the YouTube page, and there's a bunch of presentations you can watch. And there's another good resource you can go to. It's called Amazing Discoveries. And there's a bunch of the ones I did on there. But there's another guy on there that's pretty good. His name's Walter. Listen to that guy. He's got a lot of good health ones, and he's got a lot of good spiritual ones too. Listen to that guy, Walter Body.
Okay.
Any other questions? I'm thinking wearing people out.
Just one last one related to the question I was asking before. When you think about God giving this health message, how do you connect that to how health will play a role in the final conflict? The reason I ask that is because I know like what happened recently with COVID and all the division that came out of that. I know some people that were never the same after that. And so do you think that health will play a role in the final conflict, and that's why this health message was given?
I believe we know that health will play a final role because soon there'll be no work done in ministerial lines but medical missionary work. So we know it's the last work to be done, that we can be effective in sharing God, Christ with people. We're told that. And so, again, I think for several reasons. As it provides an opportunity, like the man I talked about earlier, who he had vancomycin-resistant MRSA. He didn't believe in God. His wife didn't believe in God. There is no way I could have talked to him about God. But through God blessing that herb and it curing him, he then believed in God because he saw God's miracle happen, that they told him he was going to die. And so people can see the hand of God, the power of God through herbs working, and we can reach people that don't believe in God much more effective. Plus, it makes their mind work better to where they have better discernment.
Right.
And I think those two combined is why we see it work so well.
But what about, like I know when you were speaking before, it seems that, or do you see it becoming more and more difficult to give the kind of information that you're giving? Will there come a time where, you're presenting a point of view that goes against the establishment? Do you see that happening more and more, where it's more difficult to share certain truths that go against?
In health-wise.
Yeah, because obviously we understand there's going to be a global attack on God's people.
Yes.
And
I'm actually finding it easier.
okay.
I'm actually finding it easier. I find that science out there is, whether it's Mayo Clinic, whether it's Duke, whether it's Harvard, whether it's Cornell, whether it's Cleveland Clinic, I find them actually, NIH, seeing this research as being effective. It is true, you still have the opposition out there. But I do see the research more and more, like Peter McCulloch.
Right.
When I sit down and talk with Peter McCulloch, he's a tremendous guy. He's a good Christian. And he sees what we're teaching as being 100% true because of the science. And he can see that now. Where we could not have sat down with physicians 30, 40 years ago. It's easier to sit down and show that proof today than we could 40 years ago.
But didn't he and others like him face difficulty
Absolutely.
for not going along with?
Yes, and he was definitely shunned.
Yeah.
I mean, McCulloch, he's editor of 2 different medical journals.
Yeah.
He is a nominator to the Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, he's a highfalutin guy. And he was totally stoned. And we're going to see that division, I believe. We're not going to win over the medical community. No, I don't see that happening. But I do see it accepted more than what I used to see. Yes, ma'am.
I was going to say, yeah, you're not going to win with the medical community, but on an individual level, I think is where the power is going to be, because as our world deteriorates deeper into sin, our bodies fall apart more and more, literally the ground, water, air, everything is toxic. People are going to become frantic, and we're going to have a message that can help those people, and through that message, we win their confidence. They then listen to us and other things. I think it's going to be one of the main ways that we reach people, aside from literature evangelism in the end.
That's true. It is and that one will be the second thing will fall off. And I encourage you to do some research on CBDC. How many of y'all know what CBDC is? Central Bank Digital Currency. Do some research. And as we see our ability as Christians, or whatever, cut off, and be able to buy or sell, as the Bible talks about. Being able to help somebody with health issues is something that's it's a monetary issue. It's something that we can help people. It's worth something. They're going to come to us because we can help them where they can't get help otherwise. Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about your ministry? Do you accept patients, or is it mostly education?
I used to work at a center. Now people do come in and see me, and I work with them individually. People call me, and I work with them individually. And then I come out and I preach.
I was going to ask you, if someone has cancer, have you found that we have low growth, Weimar, Ukipans, have you found that one of them is better than the other, or they're all about the same?
Well, that's a dangerous question. Yes, I find a difference. We miss Dr. Agatha. But there are places that do more with cancer than others. Eden Valley has a good history, especially when Journey was there. But Eden Valley's worked a lot with cancer. UG has done a lot with cancer. Maynard Wilson, y'all know Maynard? Anybody know Maynard Wilson? He's probably the best. Maynard's amazing. He's getting older though, But Maimon at Centurion Ministries in West Tennessee is probably one of the best cancer guys I know. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you said on the advertisement that you have one-on-one consultations on Sunday.
Yes.
Have you had that already?
No, ma'am.
Are you still doing it?
I can still do that.
Okay.
Any other questions?